Hello, and welcome to our online worship service from White Bear Lake United Methodist Church. I'm Pastor Bill Eves, and along with Pastor John McBride, I thank you for joining us today. If you're watching on Facebook, I hope you'll take a moment to click share so that your friends can be a part of this service as well. It's the mission of this church to provide nourishment for the hungers of life. We believe that God is with us today, nourishing our hungers and showing us how to bring compassion, hope, and new vision to the world around us. Wherever you are today, whether in your living room or at your kitchen table, in your office or your backyard or your car, may it become a sanctuary of grace during this time. And now, let's be in worship together.
I'm gonna sing when the Spirit says sing. I'm gonna sing when the Spirit says sing. I'm gonna sing when the Spirit says sing. And obey the Spirit of the Lord. I'm gonna shout when the Spirit says shout. I'm gonna shout when the Spirit says shout. I'm gonna shout when the Spirit says shout, and obey the Spirit of the Lord.
Please join us in prayer. God, you are a creator, redeemer, and sustainer for all humankind. As a creator, you took chaos, nothingness, and brought order with light from the sun, the moon, and the stars. You farmed out forests of trees where ecosystems have grown and flourished. You created life, love, and a relationship between you and humanity, and you saw it was good. We were designed in your image out of affection and joy, meant to be in relationship with you and each other, tending to the world and environment around us, and ministering and caring for each other. Our surroundings, God, have turned upside down with a pandemic, political division, racial injustice, and environmental destruction. The world feels like it's on fire, with fear and hate in the air. With the pandemic, we cannot be near our neighbors or tend to our daily routines. We are losing loved ones to the virus, and jobs are depleting. Our political arena is so divided that we cannot cross the floor to have a conversation with another that holds a different stance. So we sit divided, nothing moving forward, with a world on fire. God, our Creator, you are also a Redeemer because of Jesus Christ that walked the earth. Jesus Christ went into the neighborhood to eat, drink, teach, and love the world around him. There was division, but he crossed those boundaries to share a love for the neighbor that turned the world upside down. Help us lean into that radical love that changed the world and can change our landscape. Guide world, national, state, and local government systems to be a government that can share that radical love that looks out for each other and the world around us. Created in your image, we know that everyone's voice needs to be heard. Bring us together where we can have those difficult discussions to make changes that will change our world and also preserve it. Help us reach that higher ground, heaven on earth. God, you also are our sustainer that flew over the oceans in the beginning, but also with us today. You sent Peter and the disciples out into the world, equipped with the Holy Spirit, sharing love and hope that can carry us all. With that, help us be the caretakers of your gifts, protecting the land from abuse and ready to share with all who are in need. Show us how to use our science and technology in creative ways, not destructive ways. Deepen our awareness of our connectedness with all of creation so that the future generations will also enjoy every blessing. In your name, Jesus Christ, amen.
With what shall I come before the Lord and bow myself before God on high? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, with 10,000s of rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has told you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you but to do justice and to love kindness and to walk humbly with your God?
On the night before Halloween in 1938, Orson Welles' adaptation of The War of the Worlds was broadcast on CBS radio as a regular episode of the Mercury Theater of the Air. It began, like every Sunday evening, with the show's theme music. And then a news announcer's voice broke in, saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program with a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News." He goes on to describe an explosion on the planet Mars and a large cylindrical object that appears to be headed toward the Earth and then landing on a farm in New Jersey. The situation escalates when Martians begin to emerge from the cylinder and attack using a heat ray. A panicked reporter at the scene describes what he sees until his audio feed abruptly goes dead. The announcer then describes alarming reports of its devastating alien invasion taking place around the country and the futile efforts of the U.S. military to stop it. A cloud of poisonous smoke settling over New York, and thousands of New Yorkers fleeing and dropping like flies. Public reaction was immediate. Police and reporters showed up at the CBS studio in an attempt to halt the broadcast. Around the country, radio station and police switchboards were jammed with terrified callers who believed that an alien invasion was happening and the world was coming to an end. Although reports of how widespread the panic really was may have been exaggerated, more than 12 million people were listening that night, and many, at least for a time, were taken in by what they heard on the radio. The producer, Orson Welles, said he used it as an experiment to explore radio's potential as a tool of manipulation. We're on our third week in this series, looking at some election year commandments. And here's the third one. Thou shalt have perspective and not be manipulated. All of these election year commandments are aimed at helping us hold on to our own political convictions, while also staying in community with people whose convictions are different from ours. Maintaining perspective in life helps to give us a sense of peace, so that we can make sense of the world around us and be prepared for the things that can come flying at us, things that can knock us off guard or mislead us. Have you ever been duped? I hear all the time about telephone scams and email scams. Just last week, a number of people received emails purporting to be from me that said, "Okay, I really need you to help me do something real quick, as I'm very busy at a meeting right now. I got a call that a good friend of mine is about to go into the operating room for a kidney transplant. So I need you to get $500 worth of Google Play cards at $100 each at the store on your way right now, for him to be able to listen to some music and watch videos to help boost his confidence. I will reimburse you as soon as possible." Now, most of the people who received these emails knew immediately that they were not from me. But one person wrote back to me and asked, "How can I help you?" I guess we're trusting people, and sometimes it's not that hard to fool us. But email and phone scams aren't the only ways we get duped. In fact, it happens all the time in the political realm. Someone shares a picture on Facebook of a candidate seated and getting his shoes shined by an anonymous man in a bright red uniform jacket. The picture suggests that the candidate is wealthy and privileged. It's intended to make him appear to be out of touch, better than everybody else. And then the picture is paired with an image of his opponent, who's making her way out of a government building and has stopped to chat with the custodian, making that candidate appear as if she's accessible and humble. The juxtaposition is clear. You're supposed to like one and despise the other. The only problem is that the man in the first picture wasn't really getting his shoes shined at all. He was passing through airport security, getting his shoes checked by a TSA agent with a wand. And even though images like that go viral every day, people still get manipulated and played by them. And if a picture, which ought to be as clear as day, can be used like that, imagine how easily words can get twisted, misconstrued, or simply made up and used to manipulate us. With social media, everyone suddenly has a megaphone. Good journalists tell straightforward and complete stories. And when a journalist doesn't do their job and gets it wrong, a good news director will hold that reporter accountable. But now, everyone has become their own news director. People of faith have easily been manipulated and encouraged to divert their attention from the important issues to a few hot-button social issues, or even to positively menial things like getting up in arms about the design on the cup at Starbucks at Christmas time, and whether or not people say Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas. These kinds of concerns take our eyes off the things that Jesus cared about and talked about, like the poor and exploited and vulnerable, like children, like money and how we use it, like peace with our neighbors. But there are lots of political players who want to take our eyes off of those things. The reading we've heard today from the prophet Micah is set in a time when there was no shortage of religiousness, and people, especially religious leaders, were used to making a public show of how religious they were, with loud lip service to God. Micah was a courageous prophet. To come on the scene as he did and call into question whether their obvious religiousness was really about faithfulness to God. The people, some of them at least, have ears to hear Micah's message, and they respond by asking, "All right then, what should we do? Isn't it enough to worship as we've always worshiped? To make sacrifices as we've always done?" But Micah answers them by saying that there will be no more religion as usual. He reminds them that God has told them what is good and how they should live. They have the law. They have had the prophets before Micah. And so he tells them, God has told you what is good. And what does the Lord require of you but to do justice and to love kindness and to walk humbly with your God? It is at the same time more simple and more difficult than all the ritual sacrifices of worship that their religion has depended on before. To do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with God are not one-time acts you can check off the list and then move on. On an individual and social scale, in big and small ways, this is about a new way of life. A simple nod to justice does not make a faithful life, Micah tells us. We cannot say we believe in liberty and justice for all, and then vote in ways that deny them to some. We cannot send checks for disaster relief and avoid examining the lifestyles that contribute, at least in part, to some natural disasters. We can't say we walk humbly with God and then ignore the tendency in all of us toward self-righteousness and believing we have all the answers. Micah doesn't tell us to stop observing the practices of worship. It's just that those practices have to be amplified and actualized in the concrete living out of justice, kindness, and walking humbly with God every day. Doing that keeps us focused on the right things. We keep focused on the right things when we maintain a sense of perspective and take time to look in depth at what's going on around us. One place to start is with ourselves and what's happening inside us. Why do we react the way we do to certain politicians and political issues? Why do we feel so passionate about some issues and not others? Why do we feel such strong loyalty towards some candidates and not others? Jonathan Haidt is a social psychologist who has spent years trying to understand why we vote the way we do. He says that American liberals and conservatives are different in what he calls the calibration of their moral equalizers. In other words, we think different things are important and see the world through the lens of those things. Moral equalizers are things like caring, which is about protecting others, loyalty or standing with your group or family, and purity from things or actions that are thought to be disgusting. According to Haidt, people with more liberal views put high importance on things like caring, liberty, and fairness. People with more conservative leanings, while they also think these things are important, place a higher value on loyalty, authority, and purity. These moral foundations shape the way we see the world and the way we see politics. It's important for us to understand how our own political views and priorities have been formed. None of us come into political discussions with objectivity. We all have a certain angle with which we look at the world and form our opinions about what is important. And knowing that, we also have to pay attention to being good consumers of news, thoughtful gatherers of information, so we're not taken in by those who use media to manipulate us. The American Press Institute has identified 6 broad questions for us to keep in mind as we take in news, especially in an election season. First, what kind of content is this? Is it news or an opinion piece? And where does the organization that produced it get its money? Second, what are the sources they used and why should I believe them? Third, what's the evidence and how have its claims been followed up on? Fourth, is the main point proven by the evidence, or is a misleading headline used simply to get your attention? Fifth, what's missing? What's the other side of the story that's not being told? And sixth, am I learning every day what I need to know? Where could I go to learn more? A healthy democracy needs informed citizens who have looked at things from a variety of perspectives and who are willing to pick apart their own beliefs in pursuit of the truth. It may be that perspective is the most important word to keep in mind for all of us. To have perspective is to step back and see the big picture, to see how things fit together, to try to look at things from a new angle, or to consider just why we see things in the way we do. Sometimes it means just pausing and taking a deep breath, or hearing from a viewpoint you're not used to hearing from, or digging deeper to find out how the things we take for granted came to be what they are. Following the call of the prophet Micah to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with our God is a way of gaining perspective in this election season, and a way of keeping the main thing, the main thing.
Son of my soul, Son of my soul, Jesus the Savior,
Hi there, everybody at White Bear Lake United Methodist Church. This is Trish,
This is Chris.
and we are very happy to be greeting you this morning. We actually live in Holton, Wisconsin. It's just over the bridge. We're in the St. Croix Valley area, and we have been performing music for White Bear Lake United Methodist Church for, well, I guess the last 2 or 3 or maybe 4 years. Ever since John became the musical director, we have been a part of those services and have been very, very thrilled to be part of it. But we also found a home here at White Bear Lake United Methodist Church. This place is a place where we feel really comfortable. We can be who we are. It's a warm, loving, inclusive community, and we're just so glad to be a part of it. And we expect that we're going to be very much involved with White Bear Lake United Methodist Church for a very long time to come. We've had a wonderful time this spring and summer. In spite of the pandemic, we were able to work with the worship team to create musical content for the Sunday online services. And that's been just a wonderful experience for us. Also, my son Jay was involved, and we've just had a wonderful time creating musical programming for you. And now that we're opening again, we're very excited about that and looking forward to creating more virtual content, hopefully performing live in the church again when we have a chance, and absolutely next summer and fall continuing the outdoor concert series. We were really happy to be a part of that, and it was great to be able to get a stage put together. Chris was able to come up with the materials to make a stage with the volunteers, and now White Bear Lake United Methodist Church has a permanent outdoor stage. What a great venue. It was just so wonderful to perform there a few weeks ago and to see all of the other performers coming and performing in that beautiful space. It's been really great. So we are coming now into the winter months, and it's an exciting time. It's a challenging time, but we're looking forward to being a part of this worship community, creating music, and connecting with all of you on a regular basis. Anything you want to add?
I think you've covered it.
Okay. He figured I would do that. Anyway, good morning. Have a wonderful Sunday, everybody, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for worship today. At 4 o'clock this afternoon, we're scheduled to have our final outdoor service, followed by a free concert. Today, our guest musicians will be the country rock band Hitchville. Bring a mask and a chair or blanket and join us. We want to connect with you, and we invite you to visit our website, wblumc.org, where you can sign up to receive our weekly e-blast that tells about what's happening in our church community. And next Sunday, we'll have our first indoor worship service since March. On the website, you can find information about making your reservation to come and be with us. Now, may you go into the coming week with hope. May God bless your eyes with clear vision. May God strengthen your soul with courage. May God fill your heart with love. That you may go forth to do the healing work of love today and every day. Amen.